A waitress throws wine at a millionaire's face after being humiliated. Later, everyone is shocked by the big revelation that she was actually his lost daughter. Ever since she was little, Summer had been persistently curious about the father she never met. The question was always on her mind as a child, and she often asked her mother Violet, "Mommy, do you know where my father is?" Summer would ask, her innocent eyes searching for answers in the expression of the woman who had raised her alone. Violet, with a regretful sigh, would reply with restrained sadness,
"Honey, your father, he's too busy to be with us."
The answer never satisfied her. Summer longed for more details, for a photo, for a story, anything. But all her mother gave her were evasive answers and painful silences. As she grew older, Summer's need to know the truth only increased. She wanted to know more about this absent man, about her own history, about her roots. But Violet always avoided the subject as if to protect her from the weight of a broken past. "But Mom, why can't we even visit him?" Summer insisted, her eyes full of hope. Violet, with her lips trembling, replied in a broken voice,
Because he doesn't want us to go, honey. He has a different life from us."
These conversations were repeated over the years, forming a cycle of unanswered questions and unspoken truths. As Summer grew up, her determination to discover the truth only grew stronger, fueling a burning desire to meet the man who had rejected her before she was even born. However, one day, Violet decided that Summer was old enough to know the truth about her past. Sitting at the modest kitchen table, she began to tell the story she had kept a secret for so long.
"Honey, there's something important I need to tell you."
Violet began, her expression serious and her eyes full of sadness. Summer looked at her mother with curiosity and concern, ready to hear whatever she had to say.
"You know, when you weren't even born yet, I worked as a housekeeper in a big mansion.
She revealed, choosing her words carefully.
One day,
Violet continued.
something unexpected happened. I got pregnant with you, and my boss, your father, when he found out about you, he was furious. He fired me and kicked me out and told me never to come back."
Summer listened intently, each word echoing in her mind, bringing a mixture of shock and understanding. She had never imagined that her mother had gone through something so difficult and painful. "So, your old boss is my father?" Summer asked, her eyes wide with surprise. Violet nodded sadly.
"Yes, honey, he is your father. I didn't want to hide that from you, but I was afraid of what he might do, afraid of how it might affect you."
Summer absorbed the information in silence, her heart heavy with the magnitude of the revelation. She had never imagined that her origins were shrouded in so much suffering and injustice. But now, faced with the raw truth, she felt a growing determination. She wanted justice for her mother. She wanted justice for herself. As soon as Summer learned the truth about her father, a new determination ignited within her. Driven by curiosity and the desire to know her full story, she decided to find out more about that horrible man. Resolute, Summer plunged into a tireless search for answers. "I need to know more," Summer repeated to herself as she searched frantically on her laptop. She scoured the internet in search of any clue that might lead her to her father. After hours of searching, she finally found something that looked promising. A black and white photo of a man with a serious countenance and piercing eyes. The name below the photo was familiar: Peter. Could it be him? She wondered, her fingers trembling as she read the brief description below the photo. It then turned out that Peter was a very wealthy and influential businessman in the city. He had a big fortune and an imposing reputation. Summer also discovered that he had 2 other children the same age as her. Faced with these discoveries, Summer felt a mixture of emotions. On one hand, she was in disbelief at her biological father's wealth and status. On the other, there was a twinge of hope, a spark of possibility that she might finally know the truth about her own identity. Determined to move forward, Summer decided to face her past and seek the answers she so desperately craved. Despite discovering her mother's painful past and the identity of her biological father, Summer was faced with a difficult decision. However, Violet, fearful of the consequences and the painful memories that could be relieved, forbade Summer to look for her father. Faced with this prohibition, Summer felt torn between her desire to know more about her father and respecting her mother's wishes.
I don't want you to get hurt, Summer. That man, he doesn't deserve us.
Violet said, her eyes full of concern. Summer swallowed, struggling to contain her conflicting emotions. There was a burning desire to confront her father and seek the answers she so desperately craved. But she loved and respected her mother, who had gone through so much to raise her. Respecting her mother's wishes, Summer decided to put aside her search and move on with her life. However, this decision didn't appease her desire to get justice for her mother. But instead, the young woman decided to channel her energy and passion into a greater purpose, to study and become a lawyer to defend women's rights. "I'm going to get you justice, Mom, even if it takes a lifetime," Summer secretly promised as she committed to her studies to make a difference in the world. With a renewed purpose, Summer immersed herself in her studies and also worked hard to pay for law school. Every book, every class, every case she studied was one more step towards her goal of becoming a lawyer, a defender of women's rights, and a tireless fighter for justice. And so, even in the face of adversity, Summer found strength and purpose in her journey, guided by her love for her mother and her desire to do what was right. Years later, at the age of 21, Summer lived a busy life, trying to balance her studies and work. Determined to become a lawyer, she worked tirelessly as a waitress in an elegant restaurant in the city, struggling to pay for college. Every day was a battle, balancing trays and smiles as she pursued her dreams.
Table 4 needs more water,
She said to one of her colleagues with a beaming smile on her face.
You're doing great, Summer. If you keep it up, soon you'll be a lawyer.
The chef encouraged her. Summer nodded, grateful for the words of encouragement. Despite being tired and working long hours, she knew that every table served brought her a little closer to her dream. Every tip she received was a step closer to her financial independence and her mission to get justice for her mother. As she carried plates and glasses through the restaurant, Summer couldn't help but remember her mother and everything she had faced. It was her mother who pushed her to keep fighting, even in the most difficult times.
For you, Mom.
She whispered, renewing her determination as she prepared to face another day of work. With every firm step and every sincere smile, Summer moved forward, a living testimony to the resilience and strength of the human spirit. During work, she couldn't help but notice the news about her father, Peter, a wealthy and influential man in the city. She had never seen him in person, but his face was everywhere, accompanied by news about his fortune and business success.
It's you.
Summer whispered to herself, her eyes fixed on his picture printed in the newspaper. She felt a mixture of emotions, curiosity, resentment, and a hint of hope. And then, Summer was taken by surprise when suddenly Peter and his family entered the restaurant. Her heart raced as she saw them approaching, feeling suddenly nervous at the prospect of facing her father for the first time.
Good evening.
Summer managed to say with a forced smile, trying hard to disguise her feelings.
Good evening. A table for 4, please.
Peter replied, his voice calm and authoritative. Summer nodded, feeling a wave of nervousness as she led them to their table. She tried to control her emotions as she approached the family, each step bringing her closer to a meeting that would change her life forever. The young waitress could hardly contain her emotions. Still in disbelief, she decided to first confirm that the man was really Peter. With her heart beating fast, she hid in the staff room and took out her cell phone. There, among other pictures, was the one photo she kept for so long, Peter's black and white photo. She looked at the photo and then peeked at the man sitting at the table, comparing the two. There was no doubt it was really him. She recognized her father's face, his wife, and their 2 children sitting at the table, Patty and Vincent.
Oh God.
She muttered to herself as shock spread through her body. She felt a tightness in her chest at seeing her father so close and a growing urgency to find out the truth about her own story. With trembling hands, she put her cell phone back in her pocket and prepared to face her past, aware that this encounter would change everything. Summer felt as if she had been punched in the stomach when she saw her father. Her heart was pounding and she struggled to contain her feelings that flooded her being. However, she knew she had to keep her composure and do her job. With a tremendous effort, she forced a smile into her face and tried to act naturally, despite the turmoil she felt inside.
Good evening. My name is Summer, and I'll be seeing you today. Would you like to order?
Summer greeted, trying to keep her voice firm and her expression neutral. Peter smiled proudly as he introduced his eldest daughter.
Good afternoon, Summer. This is Patricia, my daughter. She's just been accepted to a university abroad. She's going to study law at the best university in the world. It's a great reason to celebrate, isn't it?
Summer felt her heart clench as she listened to her father's proud words. She struggled to hide her own emotions as she listened to Patty's achievements. It was a mixture of admiration for her half-sister's success and a twinge of pain at her own father's abandonment.
Of course, sir. I'll bring the best wine in the house for this special celebration.
Summer replied, forcing a polite smile as she walked away to fetch the wine. When she heard the reason for the special dinner, Summer felt a mixture of envy and sadness. While working hard to pay for college, she was confronted with the reality of the wealthy life of her siblings, who had all the opportunities in the world at their disposal. She felt the injustice of the world weighing on her shoulders, remembering every moment her mother had been denied by that man.
It's like they're rubbing it in my face.
She thought, feeling a lump form in her throat as she headed for the cellar. As she carefully chose the wine, her mind was filled with tumultuous thoughts. She couldn't help wondering why life had been so generous to Patty, while she and her mother had been treated with so little respect and consideration. As she served the wine, the young waitress found herself immersed in an agonizing dilemma. She felt the urge to reveal her true identity to Peter, to confront him with the reality of her existence and the injustice her mother had suffered. But she feared the consequences of such a revelation. She feared opening up old wounds and unleashing a storm of emotions. As she watched Peter chatting animatedly with his family, she pondered if she should just say something.
What if he doesn't believe me? What if he rejects me?
She thought, feeling increasingly indecisive.
Are you all right, Summer?
Asked one of her colleagues, noticing the worried expression on her face. Summer nodded with a forced smile.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about a few things.
She turned her attention back to the table, her eyes meeting Peter's for a brief moment. A whirlwind of emotions flooded her: anger, sadness, determination. She knew that revealing her true identity wouldn't be easy, but she felt it was time to confront her past and claim her place in her father's life.
It's now or never.
She muttered to herself, gathering all the courage she had inside her. As she struggled with her thoughts, the young waitress got distracted and hit Peter's youngest son, Vincent, over the head with the tray. The young man let out a grunt of pain and surprise as the tray fell to the floor, scattering glasses and cutlery all over the place.
I'm so sorry.
The waitress quickly apologized, bending down to pick up the fallen objects. Vincent, furious, put his hand to his aching head.
Are you stupid by any chance? You incompetent girl, just pay attention and do your job right,
He said in a harsh, rude tone. Summer felt a shiver run down her spine, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment. She knew she had made a mistake, but she couldn't help feeling hurt by Vincent's words.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
She began to apologize, but was interrupted by Vincent's cold gaze.
What are you still doing here? Leave!
He said, his voice harsh and cutting. Summer nodded, a mixture of shame and anger bubbling up inside her. Even if she has made a mistake, no one should be treated with such hostility. Vincent's rudeness was the trigger for an even more tense situation. Peter, who was just as harsh as his son, added an unpleasant comment, belittling Summer's work.
Just be more careful around my family, waitress. This is a fine restaurant, not a cheap diner,
said Peter with an air of superiority. The words penetrated Summer's heart like a cold blade. She felt belittled, disrespected, and outraged. But instead of retorting, the young woman decided to act. Without saying a word, her hands trembled with rage as she grabbed Peter's wine glass and, with a quick, determined movement, poured all the liquid into his face. A shocked silence fell over the restaurant as Peter blinked, astonished. The wine dripped down his face, staining his impeccable shirt.
This is an outrage. Do you know who I am, girl?
Peter shouted, his voice filled with rage. But Summer didn't back down. She looked straight into Peter's eyes, her expression a mixture of fury and defiance. She stared firmly at Peter and said with determination,
Oh, I know exactly who you are, Peter. That's for everything you did to my mother and to me.
Peter staring into Summer's eyes, trying to process the meaning behind her words. He felt confused, unable to understand why an unknown waitress would attack him like that. Before Peter could articulate a response, the restaurant manager quickly approached, gently pulling Summer away and apologizing for the mess.
We are so sorry. Please let us make up for this misunderstanding,
Said the manager, his voice soft and conciliatory. Peter remained seated, still confused and bewildered. He had never seen Summer before, let alone remembered her mother. The young woman's statement left him intrigued and uneasy, making him question his own actions and the impact they might have had on other people's lives. Something in Summer's determined eyes caught Peter's attention. As he watched her walk away, he began to vaguely remember her mother, his old housekeeper Violet, whom he had fired 20 years before. A wave of realization and remorse flooded Peter's heart as the pieces began to come together. Immediately, Peter got up from the table, ignoring the astonishment and confusion of his family, and approached Summer with a serious and determined expression.
Please come with me.
He said in a serious voice. Summer was surprised by the invitation, but decided to follow him, curious to know what her father had to say. She followed him to a secluded corner of the restaurant where the two of them could talk privately.
You remind me of someone.
Peter began, his voice laden with emotion.
Someone I knew a long time ago.
Summer looked at Peter, surprised. She felt a mixture of emotions as she processed what he was saying. Did he remember her mother, the woman he had rejected?
I'm Violet's daughter.
Summer finally revealed, her voice shaking.
And you are my father, right?
Peter looked at Summer with a mixture of surprise and regret. He had so many questions, and now he had the opportunity to make peace with his past and reconnect with the daughter he never met. While Peter and Summer talked privately, the atmosphere at the restaurant was filled with tension and confusion. Peter's children, Patty and Vincent, exchanged nervous glances with each other, unable to understand what was going on. His wife was also visibly uncomfortable, trying to disguise her own surprise and concern at the situation.
What's going on? Why is Dad talking to that waitress?
Patty asked, her voice laden with anxiety. Vincent shrugged his shoulders, equally in the dark. He too was confused by his father's sudden behavior. Peter's wife looked at the scene with an indecipherable expression, her thoughts a whirlwind of uncertainty and fear. Meanwhile, in the conversation between Peter and Summer, emotions were running high. Peter felt regret, sadness, and hope as he listened to Summer talk about her mother and the challenges she faced growing up without a father. He deeply regretted his past decisions and was now determined to make amends and rebuild the relationship he never had the chance to have.
I'm so sorry, Summer. I'm sorry for everything you and your mother had to face because of me.
He said.
I want to be a part of your life now if you give me a second chance.
Summer looked at her father, seeing the sincerity in his eyes. She felt her heart fill with hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew that this was an opportunity to finally make peace with the past and move on to a brighter future. Peter saw that moment as an opportunity for redemption and the unification of his family. With a determined look on his face, he walked back to the table, drawing the attention of everyone present.
Hey, there's something important I need to share with you.
Peter began, his voice firm.
Summer is my daughter, whom I had never met until today. I would like to ask you to welcome her with an open heart and with great love, for she is now part of our family.
Everyone was shocked and surprised, but Peter continued to explain the situation with honesty and humility. He apologized for his past mistakes and expressed his desire to build a relationship with Summer and be part of her life.
I would like to support Summer in her studies, just as I supported Patty, and see her reach her full potential,
said Peter, looking proudly at Summer.
She's an incredible young woman, determined and brave, and I'm very proud of the person she has become.
Peter's family listened carefully to his words, processing the revelation and the impact it would have on their lives. But little by little, smiles began to appear on their faces, and hugs were exchanged in a gesture of acceptance and reconciliation. And so, with Summer's courage to confront the past and Peter's determination to make amends, a new era began for that family. United by love and mutual understanding, they moved forward together, ready to face the challenges that the future held. And so Summer and Peter's story showed that even in the most difficult situations, forgiveness and reconciliation can pave the way for a new beginning full of hope and happiness. And if you like this story, I'm sure the next video that pops up on your screen will move you too. Don't forget to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next heartwarming story.